Over the next 50 years, Africa's urban population is expected to treble. We need to urgently replace outdated laws and regulations governing our cities with new laws that will help build cities that work efficiently and treat people fairly. We need to do it urgently, and we need the new laws to be effective. Effective urban laws are laws that are pragmatic. We have to be realistic about the standards of behavior that we set for people, for organizations, and for governments. We also need to be sure that we actually have the resources we need to implement and enforce the laws. Effective urban laws are laws that support the rights of all citizens to live and work in cities. We can't exclude people from moving to cities, from living in cities, from working in cities. And effective urban laws have to be responsive to local conditions and scalable to different kinds of city. Of course, Africa is diverse, and there's no one kind of African city, but there are common challenges, and getting these cities to function well, to include everyone, and generate jobs more efficiently is crucial everywhere. The aim of these videos is to introduce you to this book, Reforming Urban Laws in Africa, and give a quick overview of the contents. It's a simple, practical guide for how to develop new laws governing how cities are managed, planned, governed, and financed. Our ultimate aim is to help people create cities that are more sustainable, more inclusive, and more efficient. Laws written by international advisors are seldom the solution. Effective laws are developed locally, by the people who need to enforce them and abide by them, and who understand their own local conditions, needs, and constraints. This guide is for government officials, local experts, civil society, and the private sector, and also for any international advisors who want to support them effectively. The challenges that are facing African cities and which new urban laws have to address are numerous. Some of these include acknowledging that Africa is more urban than any other continent. There are more people living in cities in Africa than any other continent except for Asia. 40% of Africans live in cities now, and that will grow to 50% by 2030. African cities are home to migrant workers who regularly move between urban and rural areas in search of economic opportunities. Our cities are surrounded by areas that are neither urban nor rural, peri-urban areas where new incomers, new residents tend to settle. Many of our cities are illegally occupied by the urban poor, people who are living under constant threat of eviction. We have informal systems of economic production and social organization across each of our cities. Our cities are segregated by income and sometimes by ethnicity as well. Local elites dominate our cities' land markets and city governments in order to bolster their own interests. And because of this, the formal land market is restricted, making prices artificially high in the good and desirable areas. Growth of our cities is not following official plans and policies, and local governance is weak. The state's unable to deliver basic services or security. This leads to and worsens slum conditions and increased violence and social instability. Leftover, outdated colonial laws contribute to some of these challenges and make many of them worse. When new laws have been written, they're not always properly approved or properly implemented. One of the problems is that there's sometimes pressure to import laws and regulations from developed nations. These laws don't always work in our context. We can learn from international experience, but there's no need to be dominated by it. In the next video, we'll look at a new approach to urban legal reform. An approach that starts with understanding when and why countries realize that their laws need to change.